Well, thanks so much for joining me tonight. I hope you've got a cup of coffee. Just sit around the table, relax, and enjoy our conversation. Just join us. And I'm so excited. I've got a special guest tonight, Becky Q. Thank you so much for agreeing to meet with me tonight.
Thank you for having me. It's just a privilege to be with you, to be with everyone tonight.
Oh, I'm just so excited. And you took time out of your holidays. So that's just that's just a bonus. That's just a bonus because that's a sacrifice.
Uh,
So
Probably the only time you can catch me.
yeah, I know. I follow you on Facebook and you're a very busy lady.
Yeah, we all are. But yeah, this is nice just to take this time to do this and not have to be in a rush.
That's true. That's true. And you've got your pup with you?
I do. He is, I don't know if you can see him. Can you see him?
Oh, yes, you've exhausted him, it looks like.
He's chilling like a villain.
That's great.
Uh,
Mine's sleeping by me too, but yeah. It's a good time of day to do this. So
yes.
so Becky, I know that you have like a tons and tons of stories. So would you be willing to share part of your testimony?
Sure. Yeah, that's no problem. Happy to
Okay.
do it.
Okay. Where did you grow up?
I grew up in Saskatchewan, Canada, in a little small town about an hour from Yorkton, Saskatchewan.
Okay. Okay. So
So
little town, you're talking like 100 people or
yeah, just maybe, yeah, there's maybe 400 or 500 people there. Yeah. And that's about 5 hours from where I live right now.
okay. So we're talking small town prairie.
Yes, ma'am. That's right.
Yeah. Not necessarily little house in the prairie, but small town prairie.
Small town prairie. Yeah. I
Yeah.
wish I grew up in a little house on the prairie.
So describe how you grew up.
Well, I didn't grow up in hearing the gospel or even really knowing what Christianity was. My mom and dad were very hard workers to this day. They're in their 70s and they both work 24/7.
Wow.
But they're pretty amazing people, but they didn't know the Lord. And at that time in their lives, when I was a young girl, up until my young teenagers, they did a lot of drinking. And that's kind of what I grew up with. So there was kind of like dysfunction going on in that sense because of the partying and the drinking. And so I kind of grew up thinking that there was something wrong with me and I couldn't understand why there was so much fighting and
Mm.
just a lot of confusion. And it's like, why do they love the brown bottle and not me? And so I grew up thinking that I was not a good enough daughter, and the reason why my mom and dad drank and fought and argued and why I don't have a lot of happy memories is because I wasn't a good enough person. I wasn't a good enough daughter, and I disappointed them in some way. So I kind of grew up with a real low self-esteem.
Were you an only child?
No, I'm the oldest, and my brother is I'm 52, and my brother's 51, and then I have a sister who's 7 years younger.
Okay.
So none of them know the Lord, but my dad has professed, and I've been praying for them since I've been saved. I've been saved now for 32 years, and I've been praying for them every day. Yeah.
Yeah, it's in the waiting.
Yeah.
It's in the waiting it's hard when there's long time prayers that we're just waiting for.
Yeah. We don't know what God's going to do, but we have to believe that he's going to do something. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's really a testimony in the waiting. There's a lot
Hmm.
to be said for that. Yeah. Um,
For sure.
so so you grew up in this small town with your family and you went to high
And
school there too?
I went to high school there, and the drinking was something that just everybody did because there was nothing to do. It was just a bar
Right.
in the town and a school and, a Roman Catholic church and a United Church. There wasn't any kind of Christian testimony. So, yeah, I stayed in that kind of environment until I graduated from high school and moved on to Saskatoon, Saskatchewan. But just before I graduated, a Christian family did move into our town. And I got to know them because I was very lonely. I didn't have any friends. I was kind of nerdy growing up And I wasn't part of the crowd of drinking and all that kind of stuff. I wasn't popular. I was a loner in school. And so these new people come into town, and they have kids my age, and I hung out with them, and they were Christians. And so they didn't preach at me, but they showed me love, and they bought me things on my birthday. And when I'd go to their house, nobody was swearing or arguing or fighting, and nobody was talking down to me and calling me stupid or, fat, ugly, all that kind of stuff. And so it was just different. And they did take me to church, and I did notice, like, it was different, but I don't ever remember them telling me, well, you need to be saved, you need to be born again, and you're a sinner, or nothing like that. But they were really, really good to me. And they took me one time to a Billy Graham movie, and
Oh,
yeah, it was in Yorkton, and I was kind of going to this youth group thing, but I just went because I wanted to have friends. And I don't remember learning anything really. But at this Billy Graham movie, at the end, when Billy Graham came on the screen in the movie theater, I thought, I want what they have. And I didn't understand it, but I knew that they had something that I needed. And so I ended up walking the aisle, and this little old woman from Kenora, Saskatchewan, her name was Marilyn Anaka, met me. And she showed me John 3:16, and I'd never seen that verse before. I didn't know any Bible verses. And it really spoke to me because she told me that God loved me. And I just thought, well, why would God love me? Like, what? I'm nothing. Like, I'm not worth it. And it really spoke to me
mm,
because she put my name in the verse, and I never
oh,
forgot that. She said, for God so loved Becky that God gave his only begotten son, that so if Becky believes in him, Becky will not perish, but Becky will have everlasting life. And she asked if I wanted to pray with her, and she prayed with me. And after, the sinner's prayer or something like that, and she told me I was a Christian, and I went back up the aisle, but I wasn't. I wanted God's love, and I knew that this was something really neat, but I didn't even know I was a sinner. I wasn't convicted of my sins. So that family actually left, moved away, and I was on my own. And once again, and but I just kept trying to pray every night the same prayer. Well, God, take care of me, take care of my family, and bring me another family like this one that was so good to me. And I ended up moving to Saskatoon for post-secondary. And I fell into the same habits of my mom and dad, doing the things that I really, really hated, and that was drinking. And I was doing it continually, like to the point where I was spending all my student loan money on alcohol. And it
oh,
was it was like I hated who I was, and I thought, well, when I would drink, I was somebody different. And yeah, it was hard times because we were living in an apartment with a whole bunch of people because we're trying to save money, and because we didn't have any, and trying to go do our education, and yet we're drinking, like, five days out of the week easily. And
it ends up being
um
a party house then you're living
it
in.
was it was terrible, and I don't know how I graduated, but I did. And
Oh,
but
you
I
did.
remember
Well, very
I
good, you
graduated.
did.
I did. I got my diploma in early childhood education. And but I remember one day coming home, and coming to my apartment building, and this is like maybe 3-4 years after seeing John 3:16, and for the first time in the movie theater. And I come into my apartment building, and there's a whole bunch of John 3:16 posters laying on the floor, like 50 of them. And I picked them up, and I'm like, hey, that's the verse that this lady showed me. And I got a little excited, and I turned the verse over. It was a really beautiful poster with John 3:16 on it. And there was these some names, and a little message on the back about salvation. And I didn't read any of it, but I liked the verse, and I remembered the verse, and I thought, I gotta get in touch with these people. And I told my mom about it, and she said I was crazy. They could be killers. But I thought, no, I got to do this. I felt like I needed to do it.
Yeah.
And so I drove the bus right across to the other side of Saskatoon and the city, and met these people. And they said, well, are you Christian? Are Christian? I'm like, yeah, I'm a Christian. But I wasn't. And I started going to church with them, and they were true believers. They were full-time workers, serving the Lord in the gospel. And they had a little church there,
Wow.
and a little gathering. And I started going with them to church, and they were really good to me. They'd buy me groceries, and they were just so kind to me, and I spent a lot of time with them. So I was with them on the weekends, And then on Sunday, and Thursday, Friday, Saturday drinking. And it was just, that's how it was for quite a while. And then until one day I come home into I'm in my apartment building and I'm living with my brother and his friend, and I have a friend, and we're all living there. And I remember being by myself, and I was walking from the kitchen. I was about 20 years old, walking from the kitchen to my bedroom. And I'm thinking, boy, my life is so good. I've got these Christian friends in my life who'll buy me groceries when I spend all my money on booze, and they're so good to me. And then I can go partying with my friends. And it was like, that's what I was thinking. And I all of a sudden, this voice, I heard a voice. It wasn't audible, but it was very clear to me in my head, like, Becky, what about all your sins? And I never thought about my sins before, but I believe that I was going to church with them and I was hearing the gospel, and I couldn't even tell you a verse at that time, but I think hearing the gospel, the Spirit started working and convicting me of my sin. And I got really worried at that moment. And I thought, oh, and I never thought about my sins before, but I got on my knees right then and there. And I said, oh God, forgive me for this, forgive me for that, forgive me for this. And I got really worried because I thought, oh no, there's too many sins. I can't remember them all. And it was a terrible weight on my shoulders. And then I thought, I'm a sinner. I'm just a sinner. Come into my life, Lord Jesus, and forgive me and save me. And at that moment, I was saved. I didn't know what had happened to me, but at that moment, my sins were forgiven. I stood up. My friends phoned me to ask me to go to the bar that night. And I said, no, I don't want to go. And I never said no before. And I never went back. And the rest is history. And as I started reading my Bible, I realized that I had become a child of God. And so that's kind of how I got saved.
Wow. So it was pretty radical then.
Yeah, it was from night to day. Like my brother, I can remember him coming into my apartment building, and me and him fought like dogs, like cats and dogs. He has scar marks in his back from my fingernails. I hit him over the head with a hammer one time trying to kill him. Like, we had a very tumultuous relationship, but we only lived together because we were trying to save money, but we hated each other. And we would fight. And one time, right after this happened, it was maybe even a week after, he come into the apartment, and he went and poked me under my armpits. And I hated that. I hate people touching me like that. And I turned around to swing and punch him. Like, I just turned around. I went to call him a bad name, and I went to lift my fist up, and all of a sudden I felt so bad. And I said, oh, and I put my hand over my mouth. I said, sorry. And he looked at me like I was crazy. And like, this voice inside of me said, Becky, you're not going to talk to your brother like that, and you're not going to hurt him anymore, and you're not going to fight. It was just clear as day. And I never, ever after that had my outlook towards him totally changed, and my relationship towards him totally changed. He hasn't changed. He's still just as miserable as ever. It's very difficult being in the same room with them, but I don't have to fight with him anymore, because I know he loves him.
So how did he react when you just pulled back?
He didn't know what was wrong with me. And
Right.
I actually, yeah, and he is a strong, he hates Christianity, hates my faith. But he came to my baptism. He was the only one out of my family that came. And he must have thought it was all crazy, but I still wonder this day if maybe someday something will speak to him, but I just came home from Christmas, and everything I did, he was there, and I see him maybe twice a year now, but everything bothered him about me. Like, I couldn't do anything right, but now I don't have to get all mad at him anymore. I just keep trying harder, I guess, and keep praying for him and not react.
But you're a silent witness,
I guess,
right?
yeah,
Because he knows how you were before.
yeah.
I mean, he really does know. He knows firsthand how you were before.
Yeah, and he would
then
say,
the moment,
that's what makes you happy.
and then
That's what makes you happy.
the moment you stopped fighting back, and he's seen the difference, it likely confuses him. But
I hope, but yeah, I just have to keep praying for him. He would say, if that's what makes you happy, that's fine, but it's not for me, kind of thing, So anyways, he's very angry at God, and so we just have to keep praying for him.
You're just a silent witness. He'll get there.
Yeah, I'm praying. Yes.
Yeah, no, he will. He can.
If God can save me, he can save anybody. That's the way I see it.
Well, so then what happened? When did you move to Manitoba?
I didn't move to Manitoba till uh if I had a Christian church. I had these wonderful Christian people in my life, and everything was going very well for many years, like probably a good 8 years. I was part of a youth group, a young adult youth group, but a lot of them started getting married and dating, and I never did. I never ever found anyone. Nobody ever found me. I've always been single. Like, I'm 52. I've dated one guy in my life, kind of thing, and I got really lonely. And I just once again kind of got down in the dumps. And I thought, well, this must be because of me. And so I got in this big kick of trying to lose weight and all this kind of stuff. And joined a gym, and I dropped 60 pounds, and they hired me, and I became this kind of like spokesperson for them and all that kind of stuff. But I ended up losing my first love because the gym became the center of my life. And I was just kind of living for this praise that I was getting from people that were saying, you look so good. How'd you do it? And it was like kind of filling that void of loneliness I had in my life. But spiritually
Became
speaking, I was just going downhill.
and became the
And
new became the new idol.
it did. It was an idol, and my whole life was focused on that gym and the people there. And I started going to bars with the single girls. I never drank. I didn't want to drink. I had no desire to drink. I was just lonely, and we would get dressed up and we would go to bars, and I probably did that for a good year. And the Lord was trying to get my attention, and I wasn't listening. And so in that time, I was working in daycare and working at the gym, and I crashed up a car, and I lost both of my jobs, the gym job and the daycare job. They both went bankrupt within 6 months of each other.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, it's crazy. But when does that happen? But God was trying to deal with me and trying to get my attention, and saying, Becky, where am I? Like, where, like, who are you loving right now? What's more important to you? And finally one night coming home from the bar, totally sober, always sober. I never drank. I was even putting up little John 3:16 magnets in the back of the bathroom stalls in the bar, like, and I was trying to witness
Yeah.
to my JW friend and from the gym and all that kind of stuff, but I just wasn't walking close to God. And I come home one night, and I was miserable. And, even though I looked good, I was miserable. And 2 o'clock in the morning, I said, okay, God, I'm done. I'm done trying to make myself happy. Done trying to do it my way. Whatever you want me to do, I'll do. Wherever you want me to go, I'll go. And so I started looking for jobs. But nothing in Saskatoon worked. And I didn't have peace about anything. Every job I got, I tried, and I didn't have peace about it. And then I had a friend from Manitoba who said, Becky, you should move here. There's a big youth group here. There's lots of young people. Try getting a job here. I can, and he gave me a couple of places to apply at. And I applied as a psychiatric nursing assistant in Portage la Prairie, Manitoba. And I got the job. And I decided to just move and start fresh. And that's what I did. And it was like I had my joy back again. It was like I loved the Lord more than ever before, and I was enjoying him more than ever before, because he took me back after just being such a failure, and he just I got my joy back. And it was like starting in this new church and big youth group and teaching Sunday school and working with the youth and going out on little missionary trips and going to Mexico, going to El Salvador, and all those kinds of things. And the daycare that I also worked in daycare there, and there's all First Nations kids in the daycare, and I just started to develop a real care for these kids, and wanting to tell them about Jesus, because here I was trying to teach them how to do good, and they didn't have the power to do good, and it was really frustrating. And so I just started visiting these kids, and I started going to the places where they lived, and started going door to door and visiting and making friends with the parents. And pretty soon started up a soup kitchen, and
Just
just,
on your own?
yeah, on my own. And I kind of
Wow.
had a job where I had 6:30 to 9, and then I didn't work again till 3 in the afternoon till 11. And I had this space of doing these kinds of things, and working with my church. Of course, we had the soup kitchen on Wednesday nights, and inviting all my friends that I was meeting to come and have soup and Bible study. and started visiting on reserves and around and meeting a lot of people. And I pretty soon I felt the Lord tugging at my heart, like about serving him in the gospel, because I had gone to Mexico and I had gone to El Salvador more than once. And I just thought, well, I was convinced I was supposed to go to El Salvador, but the Lord shut that door, and I couldn't understand where I was supposed to go. But I was very busy serving the Lord in the gospel where I was. But it didn't dawn on me that the Lord wanted me to just keep doing what I was doing, but leaving my job and going full time and serving the Lord where I was doing what I was doing. And but so I one night I just decided to lock myself in my room, and I was going through the book of Mark and convinced that I was supposed to go somewhere and serve the Lord in the gospel, didn't know where. And Mark is an action gospel. It's like go and do it quickly, and uh it was like all these legs. I was sitting on a chair with 10 legs, and all the legs got knocked out, and one leg left standing for why I shouldn't go. But it turned out that the Lord showed me that to just keep doing what I was doing. And so eventually I cut back my hours more and more and more so that I can have more time in the gospel. And some people got saved, baptized. Um, and eventually I just lived by faith. Left my apartment. Some people from church built a little room for me in their basement, and I lived with them for a couple of years. Didn't have a vehicle. I gave up my vehicle. I walked everywhere, went door to door,
Wow.
just trusting the Lord and serving him that way. And after a couple of years and seeing fruit, my local church gave me a letter of commendation, sending me out, giving me the right hand of fellowship, sending me out into full-time ministry. And by that time, I had heard about Sandy Bay, and I'd met people from Sandy Bay, which was an hour from Portage la Prairie. And I was going out there to funerals and things like that. A lot of suicides going on. And it really bothered me to be going to this funeral or this wake of a 14-year-old that killed himself because, his girlfriend broke up with him. And
Yeah, yeah.
I thought, well, I need to do something about this. I have, and I went to the school at the reserve and asked the woman, the principal there, if I could go and visit the classrooms and tell the kids my story, my testimony, and how my worth and value is in Jesus, not in someone else or anything else. And and nothing could top what Jesus has done for me. And, we're looking to the girl or to the guy or to our clothes or to our money and all these things give us value and worth, and it's not found there. And just to tell them my story of how I grew up and all those kinds of things, and how the Lord changed my life totally from the inside out. And the principal agreed. And I went to every
Oh,
classroom,
well,
shared my testimony in the
that's
school.
amazing.
It was. And they asked me back. And I ended up going back, and I ended up working there for 12 years in the school from grades 1 to 9, just rolling my cart, doing PowerPoint, singing with the kids, praying with them, telling them the gospel, doing 6, 7, 8 classes a day. And I ended up getting a place to live out there so that I wasn't driving back and forth. And I lived in one place on one side of the reserve for about 4 years. And then the Lord provided a house for me in the town just off the reserve called Amaranth. So I've been there now, serving the Lord full time in the gospel for 19 years. Yeah.
So that's
kind
your home base then.
that's my home base. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
and you're visiting other reserves as well too.
I am. There's been a shift on ever since Every Child Matters came out, and just a lot of the First Nation communities are turning to the culture, and there isn't, like, there's a confusion between Christianity and religion and Catholicism, and they bunch it all into one big thing. So I'm almost seen as a threat to them. It takes years and years and years and years to build that kind of trust and relationships with people, so that they can see it's not religion, it's a relationship
Relationship,
that
yes.
changes me. And so I'm not in the schools anymore, and the Lord gave me a drop-in center, and that's another story. But I have more time now to visit, and I work with Indian Intertribal Life newspaper, and I write for the paper, and to take the paper to other reserves and represent it and get the word of God out. So I'm doing that in Manitoba, and I've been doing that for the last couple of years, and it's been really good. Plus running the drop-in center. So yeah.
So how many reserves do you visit? Well, first of all, how many reserves are in Manitoba?
There's 72. A lot of, but there's a good chunk of them up north, like way up north that you have to fly in, at least 20 reserves,
Okay.
20, probably 30, but I've been to probably a good 35, 40 of them. So every time the newspaper comes out, I order, a couple thousand of them. I pay for them, and I have other materials through Tribal Trails and other organizations that I work with, and I put these materials in other believers' hands that I've met freely, pray with them, encourage them, but I also take these materials to schools, to health centers, to gas stations, to grocery stores, to post offices. And I keep going back to these places and building up believers that I've met and leaving the literature and visiting with people and taking my camper out, and I go and spend the night somewhere, and I go somewhere else, and I just kind of just keep a little circuit going. So I just ordered 2,000 of the papers actually just today, and the new issue comes out in the next couple of weeks, and I'll be hitting the road again. And I'm setting up a big gospel table at a Winterfest. It's in Brandon. It's an all nations kind of celebration where many reserves get together and they play hockey, volleyball, and powwow and games, and then there's vendors, and I set up a table for intertribal life and Indian life and Tribal Trails and a whole bunch of organizations that I work with, and I buy the materials and I just give it away for free. So I'll be doing that for 4 days, coming up pretty quick in the next couple of weeks, and just setting up tables wherever I can, and that's kind of how I spend my time, along with running the drop-in center that I have, opening it up on Fridays and Sundays. So yeah.
And so at the drop-in, you provide food, clothes.
Yes. Yeah.
Craft time.
Yeah. On Friday nights we do a craft, and there's clothing for people to help themselves to for people to come out. And I always cook 2 big meals a week. Sunday we have a little Sunday service and share the gospel and have supper and Sunday school, and for anybody that wants to come out. And it's just something that I can do for the community, even though I'm not right on the reserve anymore in the school, or I had a drop-in center right on the reserve too for about 12 years, but over COVID that got shut down, and it was strict. It was all youth I was working with, but now it's just the drop-in center in town that the Lord provided for me, and yeah, doing that. So running a camp in the summer for the kids at the reserve, and done that for about 15 years. So yeah, it's you keep busy.
Well, you're very organized. Obviously, you have administrative skills, and you're able
I
to.
don't know about that.
Well, it sounds like administrative and hospitality, and be able to host events and all kinds of stuff. That's pretty good.
Yeah, I don't know. I just kind of fumble along, I think. And it's kind of like I see it as like, okay, the Lord has loved me so much. The least I can do is live for him. And he saved me. He's given me a home in heaven, and he keeps saving me. And what the least it's our reasonable service to live for him. And it's like it's just reasonable to you can't ever repay him, and that's not what it's about. It's just about letting the love of God move you to go forward for him. It's like the love of God propels us and it constrains us, and it's the least we can do is live for him after all he's done for us, right?
And you're letting his love flow through you.
Yeah, well, trying. It's all about him. But yeah, I feel very small, and I feel like a million other people can do this job probably in a million ways better, but I'm just trying to do what I can with what I got and be faithful, and leave the rest with him to do what only he can do, because it's God who gives the increase, and one person plants, another person waters, and we just have to be faithful. And there's joy in serving the Lord. It's wonderful. It's a wonderful thing to just serve him with what we got.
Yeah. And he'll connect you, the divine appointments, he'll connect you to who you need to be connected to.
He does it over and over and over. Yeah.
Well, and I've seen some of your stories, just these amazing ways that he's providing for you.
Yeah, it's
The,
awesome.
the drop-in center, that was a miracle. Wasn't that a
Yeah,
building for
totally.
$1 or something?
Yes, $1 a month, $1 a year. Yeah. So yeah, it's just cool to be able to have that building to work out of. And after it was very busy, like before COVID, it was a whole lot more busier, and I was there probably 4 days out of the week. But now
Okay.
it seems like the Lord has given me this other ministry, and after COVID, things changed. So I'm going to keep using the building and being there at least 2 times a week. And sometimes I'm there during the week giving away vegetables or whatever. But yeah, the building is amazing. And but yeah, the Lord keeps doing like crazy things. Like a gift came in not too long ago of like $10,000 from someone I don't even know. So I feel that the Lord wants me to use that for the gospel, of course, and go forward. And I'm in the process of making a new gospel poster, a really, really attractive print of a deer drinking water with Aboriginal design around the edges. And, as a deer panteth in the water brook, so my soul pants after you, and then have a little message on the back, and what water does for this deer, and how it refreshes the deer and meets the need of the deer, and what are we panting after to you know and the only thing that works is Jesus, right? And just get people thinking, where do I find my satisfaction, and is that working for me? And really true satisfaction is found in Jesus and in the pure water of the word, right?
Yeah,
So
and the
I'm
living
working on that.
water.
Yeah, working on that. So to get that printed and to get it distributed all over is, that's going to cost a big chunk of change, as well as taking the Indian Life paper and going to new reserves and with the paper and even other provinces. And I want to be able to get out there with it. It's a great tool to use because it's so positive, and it shows um the positive, and plus it shares the gospel. It shares positive news stories, has indigenous writing and prints and works of art and collaborations in terms of printable material in the back with resources that you can order from and be pointed to the Lord. And it's just a great paper with real life stories in it, and it's a great way to present Jesus in a way that's non-threatening
And
to
real.
people who have been taken advantage of by religion. So yeah, so I want to keep getting out there with the paper.
Well, we can't beat the real stories.
No.
It's the real love and the real stories that are going to convict people, and that's what changes
Yeah,
hearts. Yeah. So Becky,
for sure.
what would you say to encourage other people who are feeling nudged to respond to a call to go? Like it says in Mark, just go.
Go.
Just
That's
go.
right.
So how would you encourage other people to just go?
Well, it's not total. It's not everyone's called to leave their secular job and go
Right.
wherever but God wants us all to go. And we're all missionaries, and we're all to be 24/7 missionaries, and the kingdom of God is to be our number one priority over a paycheck. And so you need to go and have a heart for people, whether you're working as a sanitation manager in a school, or working as a mechanic, or working as a cashier, or whether you're working full time with your children and raising them up in the greatest occupation a person can ever have, as a mother. So to go is to go with the love of God, with the vision of seeing the kingdom of God increased in the area that God has put you. That needs to be your number one priority. But if Jesus isn't the number one relationship in your life, and if his love isn't compelling you, if that's not the focus of your life, is his love for you, you're not going to have that vision. So I think number one is to get your eyes on Jesus and his love for you. And we are here to show by our lives how big God is. and then to live that out in the place, in the field that he has put you. And so, and maybe he will send you to go to Africa, but he might just send you across the street to talk to a
Yes.
neighbor that you have not talked to
Yeah.
for whatever reason. So I really think that it's about seeing the kingdom of God increase to where you're at. And if God has laid a burden on your heart for something that you've never done before, and something that you don't even feel that you're capable of doing, chances are that's really from God, because he's not going to call somebody that's capable. He's going to call somebody that doesn't know what they're doing, so that they will totally trust him, and so that the power may be of him and not of me or you. You know what I mean?
Yes. Yeah,
And
totally.
yeah, just get your eyes on Jesus and let him do what he can only do, and lead you where he can only lead you. And it's not by um our might or power, but by his spirit.
Yeah, yeah, and we're all called to the good news ministry, to minister to others and just love the one that he puts in front of us.
That's right. Hmm. Yeah,
Yeah,
just to be faithful. The reward is in being faithful, and we just leave the rest to God. And he takes care of the fruit. We're to be faithful.
yeah, that's
Mm.
great.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing, Becky. This has been so exciting. I'm so
Oh,
glad that you shared your time tonight. And I'm sure that people are going to be inspired by your story. And is there any way that people can get a hold of you to find out more about the newspaper, or find out more about how they can help you?
you can go to my Facebook is where I'm very active, but I just took a week off from it, so I'm not back on yet. It's been nice not to be on, but Becky Q, if you just go to Becky Q, that's how people contact me on Facebook, and that's fine with me. Um, you can go to www.indianlife.org, and that's where the paper is, and you can get an online subscription. It's like, I don't know, $20 for the year. It's very cheap. But you can also check out Indian Life Ministries, and I work with them. I write for the paper, and yeah, it's a very good organization. And withoutreservation.org is very excellent. It's a website that you could hear testimonies of First Nations people right across Native North America that have come to know the Lord Jesus. And you can hear it. You can go on the website, Storyteller, or Storyteller, or Without Reservation, but Storyteller is part of Without Reservation, and it's a radio show that has these same testimonies. But yeah, just go to withoutreservations.com, I think it is, and you can see some really neat, hear some really neat testimonies on there. But yeah, just go to my Facebook page, and yeah, send
Okay.
a little message so I know that you're not a faker or a scammer or something like that, and then I'll add you.
Okay. Thanks again, Becky, and we'll keep in touch. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Take care, Linda. Yeah.
Take care. Bye-bye. God bless you.
Bye.